Well, my story goes something like this. Um, I basically worked at a savings and loan. This was in the early 80s. And they came in and transitioned, as they call it. In other words, they fired all six of us that worked there. Well, I can laugh now, but it wasn't funny at the time due to the fact that I was getting ready to get divorced. I was 20 years old. I had a little baby boy. And what happened is one day I was in the grocery store, Safeway grocery store, and I saw one of the customers that used to bank with us. His name was Mr. Heathcutt. So he says, listen, what happened? Where have you been? And, you know, the bank's just totally changed now. So I was like, yeah, and I went into my whole, they fired us. And he says, well, that's a good thing. And I said, what do you mean it's a good thing? And he said, listen, you live in America. They did you a favor. How old are you? I said, 20. He said, they did you a favor. So I said, no, they didn't. I have a baby. I'm getting a divorce. I need a job. And he said, well, you're lucky. He said, because you live in America and you can do anything you want to do. And I said, well, that's easy for you to say, you're rich. And he said, yeah, but how do you think I got that way? I had to work. I tried many different businesses. I've had jewelry businesses, stone businesses. Now, of course, he was in the building supply business. He had a building supply business that was very successful in Seattle. And keep in mind now, the way we use the word rich today was a little different from the early 80s. But what happened, he said, I'll tell you what, you know why I'm talking to you? Why? He said, you were the only one when I would come into that bank out of all six of you. You were positive. You always smiled. You would ask me how my family was. And then he said, because most people don't like people with money. Yes. He said, most people don't like rich people. And what happens is if you don't like people with money or rich people, whatever you want to call it, you'll never get that way. He said, but listen, when you're ready to do something and start a business, whatever it is you decide to do with your life, here's my number. Call me. And he gave me a card, a business card. And I'll never forget it, Glenn Heathcutt. And he said, call me when you're ready. Well, it had three different addresses on it. One was in Hawaii. So what happened, of course, is I went away feeling, oh, okay, I'll call. It took me about 9 months to call, and I'll tell you what happened. It's kind of interesting, but I'll tell you what happened because I had to go to California and then come back. But it took me 9 months. I'll tell you the rest.